Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com, your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see here on our channel, our website, or our social media. It's in the description below. Reach out to me directly, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. Today, we are discussing the original and most intricate version of the Vacheron Constantin Quai. This, of course, is the Day-Date Power Reserve, a model launched back in 2008 as one of the charter Quai models. It is remarkably extravagant with a custom titanium and rose gold case and a dial that features the signature complications as well as a variety of anti-counterfeiting technologies that are brought over from banknotes. So let's talk about the size. It's a big watch for a dress timepiece. 41 millimeters from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, not inclusive of the crown and profile. It's a more reasonable 13.3 millimeters with a substantial 50.4 millimeter lug-to-lug span and a 23 millimeter expanse between the lugs. Let's throw it on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. And truth be told, this is about as bold as a dress watch from Vacheron would ever get. This was a high watermark for size back in the 2000s. 2008, drawing a watch that in most regards reads like a sports watch on the wrist, and I probably wouldn't recommend it for a wrist smaller than 14 centimeters circumference or even 15, as it is quite broad across the wrist. Now, it's not excessively thick. You can see, though thicker than a standard patrimony, the watch will fit underneath most cuffs. You could see the cuff shot, you could see the overhead shot right here, and then we'll go with the down the barrel shot so you get a sense of wrist clearance on each side. Taking a look at the hardware and the software, there are a few highlights. Vacheron includes a remarkably thick piece of leather. As you can see, very dark brown gloss finish, medium rectangular scale alligator leather with a monotone stitch and a sheer side, something perhaps more familiar from sports watch imagery like a big pilot, but you do get a lot of leather, and you can see it in cross section right here. The underside is calfskin, and you'll note the watch includes a double deploying clasp with trigger release, and it's held in place with a screw, so the actual pin itself is fixed with a screw, and then you have the deployant action, so this one's not dropping off your wrist while donning or removing it bedside. Note the use of the Maltese cross in the buckle, and the Maltese cross again inside the clasp, rolling all the way over to the lugs. You can see that right here, screws and bars are used to retain the strap, so a large, heavy, and expensive watch, you like to see screws and bars rather than the more conventional and frankly cheaper spring bars. This is done the right way. The case itself, well, it's hard to exactly place the origins. There's the image of perhaps vaulted suspension bridges, the buttresses of Gothic cathedrals, the hard machine age aesthetic of the Art Deco and mid-century modern period. Since it is a cushion case and it is a Vacheron, I'm going to guess that first, third, 20th century imagery, so futurist 1920s, early Art Deco is what inspires this case design. You'll also note that as with many of the early Quai models, it was customized by the original owner with mixed metals, namely titanium and red gold. And you can see it's not just the two metals in contrast, there's also a contrast between satin finish and high polish. There's also a relieved sort of inset profile to the case. So there is a lot of nuance here, and you'll also note that the lugs themselves are stepped and tiered. Now, rolling around to the crown side, you can see the Maltese cross. You can also see a little pusher adjuster, and this watch features an adjuster on each side for each of its sub-registers, the day and the date. There's a power reserve, tracing the roughly 40 hours of reserve demarche, and of course the watch is automatic, but you can wind it manually for fun. The dial of this watch, frankly, is a bit overwhelming, but it is remarkably intricate and truly craft art on a different level than conventional horology. An expert in banknote anti-counterfeiting measures was brought in to help create the dial of the Quai. And what you're looking at, what appears to be a sort of mosquito net screen, is actually a very, very fine microfilm by which the Maltese cross logo has been printed on the underside of the crystal effectively 1,000,000 times. Now, if you look very carefully, you can see that there's actually a sapphire beneath the sapphire, and that also serves as a base for some of this imagery. And the imagery is rich. It includes laser engraving without inking. It includes laser engraving with inking. It includes UV printing, microfilms, and if you look carefully, you can also see there are a number of nickel deposit metallizations that collectively make this watch almost impossible to duplicate by illicit means. You'll also appreciate that there is micro text. If you look at the rings around the two registers, you can see phrases taken from the history of the company by the original founding partners. So there is text, there is printing beyond the Vacheron, Genève, and Swiss made. You'll also appreciate that much of the caliber 2475 is visible on the dial side, and it is beautifully finished. I find this to be even a little bit more intriguing than the anti-counterfeiting measures, primarily because this is not the kind of watch that is a high percentage play for counterfeiters. Immaculately hand-finished haute de gamme watches that sell to superfans and watch nerds are a bad place to try to score easy money, and most counterfeiters are not going to bother with something like this. All the same, the technology employed by Vacheron is impressive. Turn the watch over and you can see the caliber. I'll do my best to show it. 2475. It's based on the 2450 and 2460 series. What appears to be a tungsten rotor at first glance is actually a piece of white gold, 22 karat no less, with ceramic rotor bearings. It beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour. It does feature hacking seconds, the day, the date, the power reserve, 5 position adjustment, which is the high horology and chronometer standard, and then it features the Poinçon de Genève. So on both sides, it is immaculately finished and exemplary. Pivoting on 27 joules, it is a Vacheron in-house caliber. This timepiece is absolutely extravagant. It's what you imagine Vacheron at its most decadent to be. At 30 meters water resistant, it's not a sports watch, but rest assured it is a sporty watch, a fascinating combination of modern technology and traditional craft horology. This is a Vacheron Constantin unlike any other. Email tmosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. We're back with the Quai de Lille by night. It is loomed hours and minutes.